right. Welcome. Today we have a very special author to me, hopefully to you as well. I grew up in a small town. His first novel, Shotgun Love Songs, is about life in a small town. So it hit personally for me, and I read it, I think, in 4 days, which I thanked him because I have a 3-year-old, and at the time I wasn't reading a whole lot, and when I picked that up, it brought it back. So I want to give you I'd like for you to give a warm welcome to Nicholas Butler.
Hello. I always get super nervous public speaking. I went to school to be a writer, and I've had the weirdest string of like goofy jobs anyone can imagine. I worked at Shopko as like a clerk. I was a Burger King maintenance man. I was a hot dog vendor. I was an innkeeper twice. I was a telemarketer, a coffee roaster, all sorts of weird jobs. I'll just say none of that prepared me for public speaking. So I think what I'm going to do is read to you a chapter from my book, Shotgun Love Songs, which is about a group of high school friends, and the narrative sort of moves between their time late in high school into the future when they're like in their mid-30s. I'll read you a chapter of that, then I'll read you a really short story, and then I'll tell you a little bit about how I became a writer and this crazy story that became part of Shotgun Love Songs. So, if you've read Shotgun Love Songs, you know it's told through alternating first-person points of view. This one is told from the point of view of Kip, who's sort of like the villain, if there can be a villain in this novel. 13, 14 years ago, we used to go up there with a backpack full of pilfered beer, maybe a joint or 2 or 3. I never smoked, but they did, Lee and Henry and Ronnie. We were always up there, especially during summer when there was nothing else to do. The feed mill was closed then, derelict, and it always seemed to be on the brink of being razed, but then someone would put up a big stink, hold a town meeting, maybe even throw a fundraiser, a pig roast, a bake sale, raffle off a new Ford pickup, and the mill's sentence would be stayed. The taxes would get paid, and there would be rumors of some out-of-town messiah come to save the day, some corporation come to breathe new life into those old beams and bricks and stones. Other buildings, beautiful buildings, were demolished. The old depot, the original post office, even an old opera house, a 4-story hotel that in later years became first a flop house for migrant workers, bikers, Vietnam vets, then later something like a nursing home. The building so old it lacked an elevator shaft. The most feeble of the building's occupants were always lodged on that first floor. On soft spring evenings, crisp autumn afternoons, many of them sitting on the elevated front porch, an architectural remnant of the American Old West, the frontier. They rolled wheelchairs out there or sat on the porch swings, rocking, watching the sporadic traffic on Main Street. On the 4th of July, those geezers clutched small American flags in their trembling hands, waved them at the morning parade, and in the weeks and months that followed, still waved them at pedestrians, at funeral processions, the after-church crowd rushing home for Sunday football, until the red, white, and blue fabric faded and frayed at the edges. My grandpa lived there 2 years before he died. We used to visit him on Friday evenings in the old hotel's tall-ceilinged dining room. The room was dimly lit, and what light did enter the space seemed to pass mostly through ancient warped windows, the glass thicker at the bottom of the pane than at the top. I imagined another time when candles and kerosene threw a different kind of golden light onto linen tabletops. We ate poached cod, mashed potatoes, peas, dinner rolls. My grandpa picked fish bones from his dry mouth and set them on the rim of his plate. It always took him a long time to remove the bones from his mouth, as if he had swallowed a hook himself. There was a bar in there, too, and rumors that once upon a time, way, way back, the hotel had been a brothel. Sometimes you would see an old man or an old woman at the bar peering around for a bartender, saying in a sad, confused voice, "All I want is a taste, just a little taste." But the bar had been bereft of bottles since the flop house evolved into the nursing home. The old hotel finally came down in 1988 when I was 9 years old. By then, Grandpa was gone, buried in the cemetery just outside of town along the Little Wing River, where it is dammed up, where the water grows green with algae in the summertime and thick with ice in winter. We call that stretch of the river Lake Wing, And in summertime, occasionally we'd go out there on water skis, though the lake was hardly more than a pond, and our circuits were confined to tight, nauseating circles behind a smallish outboard motor better used behind a 16-foot aluminum fishing boat, the water so silty and thick with lily pads and algae you could almost walk on it with a pair of snowshoes. No demolitions expert was needed. A sweep of the building was made to ensure no senior citizens had holed themselves up in a broom closet or stairwell. Then, when the hotel was confirmed to be totally and finally vacant, the biggest excavating machine I'd ever seen rolled right down Main Street, its steel-fanged bucket held at the ready. The volunteer fire department kept a steady stream of water aimed at the hotel as the excavator began gnashing at the old bricks and wood. Families came out for the demolition, laid blankets on the sidewalk, packed picnics. It was a Saturday in October, the air dry and cool. My mother handed us cold fried chicken sandwiches wrapped in paper toweling. We drank warm apple cider from a thermos, ate potato salad, baby carrots, pickles. Dad was a volunteer firefighter, and that was the first and only time we'd ever seen him in action. In his uniform, underneath his fluorescent yellow helmet, he looked so official, so heroic, so brave. Mom elbowed us gently. Isn't your father handsome? Along the sidewalks, the hotel's former inhabitants looked on, chewing their tongues like jerky, looking defeated, depleted. I don't know where they went after the building came down, though I suspect many ended up in Eau Claire, just north of Little Wing. It made me sad to think of them, most of them likely to be separated into different institutions like elementary school children whose parents all suddenly decided to take jobs in new cities or neighborhoods, and the kids shuffled someplace new without a say in the world. When the old hotel was finally gone, there was nothing but a new hole along Main Street, a gap between the pharmacy and hardware store where only a pile of rubble lay. We pushed a red wheelbarrow down Main Street and spent afternoons collecting the leftover bricks, though at that age we could only fill the barrow up halfway before it became too much to push. Then we brought the bricks back to my father, who paid us a dime for each one we scrounged. We built an outdoor fireplace with those bricks, a little grotto of fire we congregated around in warmer months, a place where we could toast marshmallows or roast hot dogs. Sometimes we took girls up to the top of the feed mill, but mostly it was just us, just the four of us. Lee, Ronnie, Henry, and me. Nights it was better than any telescope, better than the planetarium we visited with our middle school or high school teachers, because on top of those old wood and cement grain silos, we found narrow places to lie on our backs and stare out at the stars, to drink beer, to talk big, to dream. Our town, Little Wing, down there, not much to see and always shrinking, not even a stoplight blinking against the night, and everyone, all of us, putting it down, talking about leaving, going somewhere, going anywhere but here. The sense that staying in town meant we were failures, meant we were yokels. Who the hell knows what we thought back on those nights? Henry and I, we preferred mornings, dawns, sunrises. It's funny, but I suppose he was already becoming a farmer back then, getting up early, helping his dad with the family dairy operation, working on old engines, listening to all the retired or bankrupt farmers after church. And it wasn't many mornings, but there were a few when we'd climb up those steel rebar stairs all the way to the top of those grain silos and wait there, the air cool and blue, our breaths just barely visible, maybe a thermos of coffee between us or a stolen bottle of brandy or blackberry schnapps from our parents' liquor cabinets. And there must have been a morning or two when we didn't bring anything. Just hugged our knees, blew hot air into our hands, waited for the sun to come, the day to begin warming. At the time, I didn't think much of it, but I suppose looking back, it was mostly me who called Henry, mostly me doing the inviting. We didn't talk much on those mornings, just sat and looked out as if we were waiting for a ship. I've never been to the Grand Canyon, to Yosemite or Yellowstone, to any of the places you hear people talking about, spectacular places, I mean. But even without having been to the Grand Canyon, I imagine a sunrise there has to be something bordering on a religious experience, all that ancient red, orange, and yellow rock lighting up in their striated layers, all those majestic, deep purple shadows. I wish you could see a sunrise from the top of those grain silos, our own prairie skyscraper. I wish you could see how green everything is in the spring, how yellow the corn's tassels even a few months later, how blue the morning shadows are, and creeks winding their own slow paths, the land rolling and rolling on, studded here and there with proud red barns, white farmhouses, pale gravel roads, the sun emerging in the east so pink and orange, so big, In the ditches and valleys, fog collecting like slow, vaporous rivers waiting to be burned away. I really can't remember who I was back then, that teenage version of myself, what I was thinking. I guess like everyone else, I was restless. Maybe I was lonely. Maybe being up there at the top of those grain silos, maybe I thought I could see something, my future, some spot on the horizon where I'd land, some future version of myself, some girl I hadn't met yet, my future wife. I don't know. But it felt good, I guess. Maybe it even felt like something artistic, something thoughtful, the kind of thing that our high school art teacher, Mr. Killebrew, would never guess we had in us. Lee and Ronnie preferred sunsets, moonrises, some westbound freight train roaring through the night below, never stopping its cycloptic light to cut the night, its whistle the loudest thing in the world, and high on top of those towers, feeling wobbly neat as if the train might shake the building to the ground. Those two, always high, always singing Idiot Wind or Meet Me in the Morning, hurling their beer bottles out into the night, out at the passing trains, listening for a crash, listening for police sirens that never came, the voice of authority telling us to get down, God damn it. But no, the entire town always too mild, too asleep, dozing in front of blue-faced televisions as Johnny Carson charmed everyone into a satisfied snore. But sunsets, that was how I first understood that Lee was different from us, that he was maybe even destined to be famous. Because in the 10 or 20 minutes before the sun was totally extinguished in the west, he always demanded our complete silence. And I don't know why, but we listened. We acquiesced. And we'd sit there, sipping our dad's beer, looking out at that chameleon sky, and we'd listen to Lee. Listen to him hold court. You hear that, he'd say? Not so much asking as telling. You hear that tone, that note? I swear to God, that color over there, that pink color. When that pink color starts to really blush, it's like this note, I can't describe it, this sweet high note. And you hear that one, that orange? Not that marmalade orange, but the peach one. You hear that? Oh man, I can't wait for the blues. The blues and the purples, and then that last long, low, black note, that reverberating bass note that says, go on now. Good night. Good night, America. Good night. I never knew what he was talking about, but I tried. I tried to listen, tried to hear that sunset music he was talking about, but I couldn't. I just couldn't hear it. Those guys, they listen to music all the time. I'd come over to Henry's parents' house. This is back in elementary school, middle school, and those three would be down in the basement listening to Henry's dad's old records, anything they could get their hands on. And then Lee joined a record club after seeing an ad in the back of a magazine, 10 albums for only a penny. A penny. Even in elementary school and middle school, Lee was the first person I knew who owned a Walkman, and he carried it everywhere, out to the playground during recess or walking home from school. He even tried to sneak it into church and tried to listen to it while we watched all those educational film strips at school, even during lunch. He listened attentively to all the cassettes and later CDs the older kids gave him, like Contraband, gangster rap and metal and early grunge, Public Enemy and NWA giving way to Anthrax and Metallica, and then Nirvana, Stone Temple Pilots, and Soundgarden. He wore nothing but flannel for years and years, flannel and torn blue jeans, Chuck Taylors covered in cryptic little poems and epitaphs. Up on top of the feed mill, the sunset almost entirely washed away by a sea of black and blue. I didn't hear it, I'd admit to them. I didn't hear it at all. They'd laugh at me, laugh and laugh, and Lee would say, "You're not listening. Look, I know you're trying to hear, but you're not listening, man." A few times he tried to make me listen to this album, Kind of Blue, but that didn't help at all, because much as I tried, I just couldn't find anything to listen to. There weren't even any words to grab onto, nothing at all, just these spaces of lonely trumpet and mellow piano notes, but so many spaces of almost nothing at all. Felicia used to ask me after we were married, "Why did you want to come back? What is it? We had everything we ever needed or could have wanted in Chicago. Why come back? What for?" I don't know that I ever found the right way to answer that, but I suppose it all comes back to those nights and mornings, those guys feeling like we were apart from everything we'd ever known, and maybe better than the place that made us. And yet at the same time in love with it all, in love with being small-town kings, standing up on those bankrupt towers, looking out over our futures, looking for something, maybe happiness, maybe love, maybe fame. And when I found some of those things along a Gold Coast, along a Miracle Mile, inside a loop, the only thing I could think to do was to come back home out of exile, to show those boys now men, look what I did. Look at who I am now, look at me. That's why I came back. Except that now I'm the only one going back up there. I'm the only one climbing to the top of those silos, looking at sunrises that just make me wish I was back in bed with Felicia or back in Chicago, waiting for the taxis to begin waking the city up. Anybody listen to Kind of Blue by Miles Davis? Any jazz fans at all? I always feel like the most rebellious thing you can do in high school is find an album like Kind of Blue by Miles Davis and listen to it by yourself, and then when somebody doesn't expect you to have that knowledge, you will. So I wrote this short story. It's called Rainwater. It's like only 5-6 pages long. And when I was in grad school, I had this professor that I didn't get along with very well. I get along with her now. But when I was a student, I couldn't see what she was trying to teach me. And she said, you write these long sentences, and you just need to cut the fat. And so I thought, all right, I'll show you. I'll write this short story, 5-6 pages, and I'm going to try and make almost every sentence in this story 4 or 5 words long, except 1 or 2 sentences, which maybe you'll be able to hear, that are almost pages long. And we'll see what she has to say about that. And then I turned in this story, and it was wonderful, because she had nothing to say. So, and which was also sort of a wonderful lesson in education, because she had won, too. She taught me exactly what she wanted me to do. This is called Rainwater, and I wrote this because there's so many families in America right now where 2 parents are working, but they have kids, and childcare is super expensive. So who ends up picking up the slack? Grandparents. And my father-in-law is a really good guy. He's one of my heroes. But you can tell that he's the kind of grandparent now who, you know, like, he raised his kids. And he wants to see his grandkids, but he doesn't want to necessarily raise them. He doesn't want to be the babysitter. And so I thought about a character like him, and I thought about what would happen if the parent never came back. Drops your kid off to the grandparents, but never comes back. So this is called Rainwater. The old man and his grandson sat on the porch swing watching it rain. They swung according to the old man's rhythm, the little boy's feet dangling, his shoelaces untied, still inches off the sinking porch. Water collected in the grooves of the dirt and grass 2-track driveway, and toward the barn, chickens bobbed their heads and cooed low, high-stepping as they pulled earthworms free from the saturated black soil. A flag drooped heavy on its rusted and listing pole. "Where's my mom?" the boy asked, not unhappily. He wiped his nose and looked at the old man, who simply stared off away, blinking his pale blue eyes slowly. "Grandpa?" The old man scooted his grandson closer, rubbed his tow head with a thick old hand. She was late, a day late, and every number the old man dialed went unanswered. He could not say that she was in danger. She was wild and always had been. She dropped the boy with him on Friday afternoons like a package, left him without food or toys, and sometimes without extra clothing. What did the old man know about taking care of a child? So Friday nights, he and the boy drove into town, ate supper at the diner beside the railroad tracks, watched passing trains, shared a Sunday, drove to the hardware store and bought die-cast trucks and tractors, little boy underwear, overalls, thick socks, T-shirts, and sweatshirts. The little boy falling asleep across the bench seat of the old man's pickup truck as they jostled down county roads and toward the fallow farm, where the old man would park, admiring this little boy before lifting him out and carrying him inside to his own bed, where he lay the boy and pulled the sheets and the gray wool blanket up and over his shoulders and kissed his forehead and touched his little boy ears, and then sat listening to his alarm clock tick and waiting for the sound of his daughter's car to come down the driveway, until at last he went to the kitchen and poured himself a cup of cold coffee and wrung his hands and wondered silently how he had failed her. "Hold on a minute," the old man said. "Hold still. Be back in a minute." "Grandpa?" the little boy said tentatively, and the old man recognized the edge of fear in the boy's voice at the thought of being abandoned for even a second. The boy looked at him balefully. The old man motioned through the screen door inside the house. He cleared his throat. "I gotta pee." The little boy nodded uncertainly, and the old man went inside, careful not to let the screen door slam. Walked through the sitting room with its ancient TV and grandfather clock and duck paintings and dusty duck decoys and taxidermy deer mounts and tired furniture. Into the bathroom he went, closing the door lightly, and wiped beads of sweat from his forehead. Maybe, he thought, she wasn't coming home this time. His urine came haltingly. He stood in front of the mirror afterward and washed his hands, looked at his face, his white hair, the broken blood vessels across his nose and cheekbones, the loose skin beneath his chin like that of a turkey, 2 days' worth of whiskers. I ought to look better for him, he thought. I have to be strong. From the porch, he heard a little voice. Grandpa, Grandpa, Grandpa. In the kitchen, he found a tin cup, then patted back to the boy on the swing, who sat smiling up at him. Here, the old man said, handing the boy the cup. The boy looked down into the cup. It's empty. You ever drink rain? No, Mom won't let me go out in the rain. Well, I'm saying that you can. It's okay, I'm not that thirsty. Well, all right, then go get me a cup. The boy slid off the swing, approached the edge of the porch where the stairs descended into overgrown grass and dandelions. He held the cup out. Rain fell off the eaves in big, slow, measured drops. The old man moved to the swing, watching with arms crossed. Parenting, he remembered, was all about creating work, job, games. No, go on out there, he said. Go on out in the rain now. Give me some fresh stuff. I don't want that runoff from the roof. Go on now. Don't worry about getting wet. The boy stepped into the rain, droplets turning the blue cotton of his shirt a color closer to black. The rain began to slick back his hair. He laughed. It's warm. The old man smiled behind the hand. Go on now. Give me some of that fresh rain. The boy moved farther away from the porch. A thick shoal of gray clouds slung low overhead. He held the cup out away from him, then over his head. Grandpa, what does rain taste like? The boy called out. Clouds, I suppose. Mostly like clouds. The boy brought the cup down, glanced inside the little vessel. Is this enough? Sure it is. Bring it up here. You won't drink? I sure will. The boy scrambled up the steps onto the porch, careful not to spill. He passed the cup cleanly to his grandfather, jumped onto the swing and sat, hands in his lap, looking at his grandfather. The old man held the cup in his hands for some time, looking at the water there. I don't know that I've ever tasted rain, he thought. He tried to recall some summer afternoon, some spring evening when, perhaps out walking with his wife in town or on the tractor, or even back in the wartime, when he might have opened his mouth for a raindrop to find or held his helmet out like a cup, when his young tongue might have slipped out of his mouth to lick rain-slicked lips, but nothing came to him. Grandpa? You take the first sip. Go on, you collected it. You ought to drink it. Really? Sure, it's yours. The boy raised the cup to his lips and took a small, noisy sip. The old man watched him. Well, good. It tastes good, I guess. You want some, Grandpa? They sat that way, the old man swinging them, his right hand on one of the chains that kept the swing moored to the ceiling of the porch. Now the air smelled of ozone and the rain came harder, more violently. The ground trembled with faraway lightning and there was the guttural sound of thunder. The boy inched closer to his grandfather, collapsing what little distance there remained. The old man placed his hand on the boy's head, the air charged with electricity and their skin almost wet, the hairs on their arms at attention like two scared cats. The old man raised the cup to his mouth and sipped. A lightning bolt, blue and hot white, split the sky not a mile away, and the thunder that filled their ears not even a second later seemed impossibly big, made them jump. The air sizzled. The old man imagined his daughter. Was she driving toward them, her windshield wipers frantically casting water toward the yellow center line? Or was she blissed out somewhere, a belt cinched around her pale, skinny arm, eyes half shut, slumped halfway out of a chair and resting on a dirty floor? Or in a motel room with two strangers, sipping her favorite Southern Comfort out of clear plastic cups in the tapping and scraping of credit cards, making fine white lines on the bedside table, or someplace much worse. A shallow ditch, a dank basement, the hot, dark trunk of a sedan, a Greyhound bus, a hospital. Where? He drank the remainder of the rainwater and began rocking them with more vigor. He hugged the child fiercely, felt his own lips meeting the top of the boy's head. Come on, he said, let's go inside, get you a hot shower and those clothes in the dryer. Grandpa, the boy said, could you taste the clouds? The old man looked toward the flooded driveway, held the cup in his hand, so small. Grandpa? Come on, the old man said. I ain't gonna ask you twice. Inside, the old man drew a hot bath, steam warming the small white-tiled bathroom. Behind him, the little boy removed his clothing, then stood on tiptoe and peed into the toilet. When the old man stood and shook his red hand of the hot bath water, there was his grandson, stark naked, pale and smiling. The old man handed him a new bar of soap. When you're done, call me, and I'll bring a warm towel. The old man averted his eyes. So long since he'd seen another person naked, least of all a child. I'm going to throw these clothes in the dryer. In the basement, he tossed the ball of wet clothing into the dryer and started the machine. The whitewashed walls of the cellar bled with rainwater, and in the dark corners of the damp room, an unseen cricket sounded slowly. He sighed deeply. More thunder, even closer this time. The single hanging light bulb flickered. The floorboards above him seemed to shiver. He took the stairs slowly. He could hear the water still running in the bathtub, the little boy talking, singing to himself. The old man walked out to the porch, held his bony shoulders in his hands. He kicked peeling paint off the floorboards with his boots. Great chips sloughed off and then went sailing out into the yard. He sat down heavily in the swing, watched his driveway become an ephemeral stream, and waited for his grandson to say his name. Thanks. Well, anybody, I don't expect you to have read my book. I never care. I mean, I'm always happy if people have read my book, but has anybody here read my book? You have. What's the most absurd moment in the book, in your opinion? Be honest, too. You can't hurt my feelings.
Maybe when they get divorced so fast, I would have expected them to like stay married for longer.
Okay, that's a good answer. It was not, however, the answer I was looking for. Let me prompt you a little bit. Towards the end of the book, there's some action that happens. Maybe a shooting. Did that seem absurd to you at all?
I mean,
Did you buy that? I mean, was it believable to you?
I bought it because they were living in a world so different from the one that I live in. So
Okay.
I believe in stuff that was going to happen.
Okay, good. Well, that's good. So now I'm going to tell you the true story behind the most sort of absurd moment in this book. Oftentimes, I go to these book clubs, and the reality of the book world is that most of the people who buy novels are women aged 40 to 65. So imagine me, I get invited to go to these book clubs, and I sit down, and I have to focus very hard to try and find a spot where there's not a whole lot of drinking in the book or swearing or poor behavior. And I always get to this point in the book club where they say, we really like your book, but boy, if there was one part we didn't like, it was the shooting that happened. So let me tell you about how the shooting got it to be. What's that? 76? Okay. In 2009, my wife became pregnant with our first kid. We were living in Madison, Wisconsin. We were on state benefits. We were very close to bankruptcy and foreclosure. We bought the stupidest house in all of Madison. It was a one-bedroom, crappy house, and I used to scare prostitutes out of the backyard when I went in for work in the morning. So imagine trying to put that house on the market. It didn't really fly off the market, and I was making $8 an hour at this liquor store, and I had a conversation with myself one night where I said, is this like who you want to be? Like, what do you want to be most in the world? You're going to have a new kid coming into the world. You're making $8 an hour. You're on benefits. Are you happy with this? And so the next question I asked myself is, what are you good at? And the only thing that I could think of that had been in my life the whole time was books and writing. In high school, I wrote for the newspaper. In college, I wrote these poems. I never got paid anything for it. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to try and be the best writer that I can be. And I signed up for some workshops, and fast forward a couple months, I send out graduate applications for creative writing master's programs. And one day I'm working at the liquor store, the phone rings, and one of my buddies says, hey, it's the University of Iowa Writers Workshop on the phone. Do you want to take the phone call? The Iowa Writers Workshop, the University of Iowa, is the most competitive program in the world. It's more competitive than Harvard or Yale's business school. In the year I applied, there were 1,000 applications for 20 spots. So I was like, yes, I will take the phone call. I go to the back of the liquor store. AC/DC is playing really loud, as it always did. I sit on a stack of beer cans, and it's the director of the program saying, would you like to come to grad school at Iowa? Fully funded. Heck yes, let's do it. So my wife and I are really excited. We're a young family. We're thinking about moving to Iowa City. If you're a book person, there's like no place better in the world. And even though my wife graduated in the top 10 people in her law school class at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, no law firm in Iowa City would hire her because they basically knew we were there for my grad program. So luckily she had an offer in Minneapolis. What does this mean? It means every Monday I get in the car north of Minneapolis and I drive down to Iowa City down I-35, which is the most soul-sucking highway in the world. There's nothing to see but corn. You could almost just like tie a rope onto the driver's wheel and just keep going south. Because we didn't have much money, like inside my rented room in Iowa City, I had one half of my brother-in-law's childhood bunk bed painted very red, which we call, all my friends joke that my apartment was called Red Bed. So I had one half of this bunk bed, and then I had a white desk and a black folding chair. And basically it was great, because when I get down to Iowa City, I was all business. I taught classes, I read books, and I tried to become the best writer that I could. During this time, my wife is acting as a single parent. She's raising our young kid. She's working full-time as an attorney. And luckily, her brother came to live with us, kind of help take care of my son. So one day, I drive back north to Minneapolis, and I get off the road, and my brother-in-law is having an adult beverage at the kitchen table, and I join him, and he says, I have the craziest story for you. He'd been working at this bank in downtown Minneapolis with a lot of other young people fresh out of college, and they would go out once a week for drinks or whatever. And he worked with this young lady who had the worst taste in men ever. She just dated the worst dudes. And every one of these dudes had their own amazing story, which I wish I could share with you, but we don't have time. But she decides to tell him on this one night about this guy that she dated, and he lived in rural Minnesota. Small town, kind of like Little Wing and Shotgun Love Songs. He finds himself in a bar in the early afternoon in this small Minnesota town. He looks across the bar and he sees a giant jar of pickles, a glass jar of pickles. And he thinks to himself, I'm going to steal that jar of pickles. This isn't a bright man. And I should also say that he had like sort of a criminal record, like he's not a good guy. So the afternoon wears on, he's kind of drinking more and more. Somehow he finds a way to get behind the bar, and he steals the giant jar of pickles. And so he gets outside of the bar. He's got this big jar of pickles. He's walking down Main Street, and there's traffic approaching him. He decides he takes the lid off the container, throws it down, reaches into the giant jar, pulls out a pickle, and he throws it at an oncoming car, hits it, the car just drives off. He's like, this is a great game. Pulls out another pickle, throws it at another car, hits it. Pulls out a third car, and he isn't paying a whole lot of attention. Throws it, he hits an oncoming SUV, and the SUV slams on the brakes, and a guy gets out of the SUV with a huge pistol and shoots him in the leg and drives off. But the guy's got a little bit of a moral quandary because he's got a criminal record, he's drunk, he stole the pickles, he threw the pickle, and the car's gone. So he's not the kind of guy who's just like going to go to the hospital or something like that. He decides he's going to go back to his apartment and just kind of see how things go. So he gets back to his apartment, 2-3 days goes by, and the thing heals. He's fine, I guess. I should also add that at the time of the shooting, he's a very heavy man. So over the course of the next year, he takes up jogging. He's still dating this girl, my brother-in-law's friend. Takes up jogging. He's losing all kinds of weight. And now we're approaching one of those 3-day weekends, like Memorial Day, Labor Day weekend or something like that. He gives the girl a phone call, and he says, hey, I want you to come over to my house. We've got this project. She says, sure. They're sitting in the backyard, and they're having fun, celebrating the holiday. They come inside at one point to eat dinner or something like that. He's got a boiling pot of water on the stove, and he throws a scalpel and pliers into the boiling water. And you see, because he's been jogging and losing so much weight over the last year, the fat surrounding the wound has begun to melt away. And the slug of the bullet, which is still in his leg, has become very, very itchy. He says, we're going to pull this slug out. And because this woman was sort of up for anything, she's like, sure, let's do it. So the guy crawls into the bathtub, and she gets the scalpel, and she cuts open the leg, and she gets the pliers, and she actually finds the slug in his leg, gets it with the pliers, and now she's like going like this. But there's so much scar tissue built up around this slug that like it's not going anywhere. Okay, he's just bleeding profusely and in a lot of pain. She's like, we got to go to the hospital. So they go to the hospital. They go to the emergency room. The guy says, I've been shot. And the emergency room says, there's no way you've been shot. We have a police scanner here. We would know if somebody had been shot in this town. You haven't been shot. And he's like, well, take an x-ray then. But I've been shot and I'm bleeding profusely. So they take an x-ray. Sure enough, there's the slug in the leg. They pull it out. The guy and the girl break up. My brother-in-law backs off from the table and sort of like claps his hands. He's like, end of story. And I thought, holy crap. That is the craziest story that I've ever heard. And you got to understand that when I was writing Shotgun Love Songs, I'd published some stuff before, but not much. I'd never really been paid much. And I didn't have any expectation of ever being published or being paid for what I did, because that'd be crazy. That'd be like me thinking I could get drafted to play for the Green Bay Packers or something. It's absurd. So I just decided I'm going to write the book that I want to write. And I'm going to include this crazy story in my book because I want it to live on forever. And so I changed some things, but there it is. And I did end up selling the book. And then I ended up selling it in 11 different foreign countries. And then I sold the film rights to the book. And I sold another book. And then I sold another book. And I was able to move back to my hometown. And I've been invited to like 4 or 5 different foreign countries to discuss these silly books about Wisconsin and like crazy pickle throwing and stuff. So, I don't know. I'm going to kind of like leave it at that. That gives us a little question and answer time. I hope that like, I really, hold on one second. Last time I was here when Matt was talking, and it gets a little loud, I know, during Q&A, but I hope that you'll just respect your fellow students, and if somebody's got a question, we can all be quiet. We only got like 4 minutes left to go, so. Does anybody have any questions at all? None? I'm out of shooting stories, so.
One up at the top.
All right, be loud though, because I'm kind of deep. Why did they break up? Which couple? Oh, why did the pickle throwers break up? They weren't meant to be, I don't think. I don't think he was what you'd call a keeper. Yeah. My spirit animal? I think I'm, no, that's a very serious question. I feel like I'm like very much a bear. Yeah.
Right in the middle.
Yes.
Are any other stories from the book from real life?
Yeah, well, I mean, so one of the things that was talked about the most, one of the things that was easy for like the media to grab onto is that there's this sort of like famous indie rocker in my book, who's from a small Wisconsin town. And also, I went to school with Justin Vernon of Boney Bear. We went to the same high school. So a lot of people kind of wanted to focus on that. And the truth is that what was true about using Justin's story was that we came from the same place, and he's really inspirational to me. Like, nobody had been artistically successful before him. And then I looked at him, this guy that I had known in high school, and just thought, well, if that goofball can do it, so can I. And now it's crazy. I mean, like, I don't know if you guys will get a chance to ever go to the Eau Claire Music Festival, but it's fantastic. I mean, it's happening in my hometown, and artists from all over the world, amazing artists are coming to this festival, and it's all done so well. And I look up on stage, and it's these guys that I was in high school with, doing their thing. So that part of it is like sort of true, like all good fiction. There's a little truth in it, but there's a lot of made up stuff too. Yeah. That's a good question. So like all right, so it all depends. It's like any other commodity in the world. If you have like a really quiet book that's like not going to make a lot of Hollywood money, you might not make very much money from your book at all. I was really lucky because I sold it during this period of time when people were like sort of competing for my book. So basically what happens is, and this is really sort of crass business talk, but it's a good question too. Every year, whether the film gets made or not, I get a check for $12,000, whether it gets made or not. If it gets made into a movie, I get a percentage of the budget, not to cap like $300,000 or something like that. That's not like the kind of money that you're going to retire on, but it's the kind of money that certainly pays for your kids to go to college or pay off your mortgage or whatever. And the other cool thing is like my wife and I get invited to go to Los Angeles for the film opening, and probably no photographer will ever take a picture of us, but we'll be there and remember it. And yeah. When's the movie coming out? I have no idea. They hired a director, and he's a cool director. He's not like really a household name, but I've watched his films. They're very good. And I don't know, like it might not ever happen. That's the thing. A lot of books get sold to the movies and just never happen. So yeah, way back there. Be loud though. To write a short story? Yeah? If I've got enough coffee and my kids aren't bothering me, I can do it like in a night if I've thought about it long enough. Shotgun Love Songs took me 2-3 years. I mean, that's a novel. That took me 2-3 years to write. So, yeah, up there on the top. Dill? Yeah. My son does I'm like, I gotta tell you, I live on 16 acres of land in rural Wisconsin. I'm the most boring dude there ever was. I'm almost a hermit. So coming up to talk to groups of people like this is totally weird. I don't dab at all, man. Like, I don't. My favorite song? I don't know. There's like hundreds of thousands of songs that pick one. The Wait. Have you heard The Wait by the band? Go check it out. Anything else? All right, thanks guys.